I mean, fortunately, most research shows and finds that CBT interventions are actually quite effective cross-culturally. The majority of them are. So that's good. I think that's one of the reasons Mind Over Mood has been translated into so many languages and used throughout the world, because CBT principles apply to most humans. But
Mhm.
that said, there still are cultural variations in some things. So I tried to check the literature as I was writing the book and when I found cross-cultural variations and differences, I tried to address them. And also the other thing is we live in a very multicultural society, and most therapists have quite a multicultural practice. And so I wanted to include case examples throughout the books that represented that and that spoke to realistic clinical practices. I also had a kind of a personal dedication to include case examples in the book that often don't show up in CBT books. So I have some examples with clients who are trans and clients, other CBTQ plus clients, and issues that might be particularly pertinent to them. I dealt with issues of, for example, social discrimination and how, sometimes people have distress because of real things that are happening in society. Have examples that deal with internet bullying and racial issues and religious issues, because this is part of our world that we live in, and CBT is very well suited to deal with all of these types of client issues. But I think for therapists, we often feel like we're inventing it on the fly because we don't see it often represented in CBT books. And so that was something important for me to do.
Right, and that our job is not just about the power of positive thinking and helping people learn to think positively about problems that are real, but helping them learn ways to cope with them or to incorporate acceptance, or gratitude or kindness or other ways just to cope as resiliently and as effectively as they can as possible.
Absolutely.
Are there any particular examples that come to mind at the moment of particular cultural examples that you'd want to share at the moment from either of the books?
Well, I mean, one of the examples I gave was the issue of social discrimination. It speaks well to what you were just saying, is that when people are genuinely being discriminated against, uh, it can be very much a balancing act in therapy between empathizing and understanding the nature of the discrimination they're going through, and then someone learning to deal with that has to often incorporate some degree of acceptance factors, but also some CBT principles of maybe testing out underlying assumptions and beliefs, maybe doing some behavioral experiments. And you also have to balance all of that with community safety and with personal safety, because uh, some of the CBT methods or behavioral experiments we might have people to do could be quite dangerous for them to do in some settings. I mean, if there's a child who's being bullied at school, say in middle school or high school, and they're being bullied in physical ways, uh, teaching them to stand up to those bullies may actually lead to them getting more seriously harmed physically, or someone in a domestic violence situation. So I think this is where, as clinicians, we need to be thinking about cultural context, community context, and also be aware that not all negative thoughts are distorted, and we need to draw on uh, the full set of skills that we have, and approaches that are available to us. So I tried to use some examples dealing with social discrimination, dealing with bullying, things like that in the clinicians
So
to
important.
illustrate this combination of practices.
So important, yeah, and so timely in terms of what we're going through in the world today.